I have the pleasure and privilege of introducing a true Bruin, Professor Emeritus Scott Waugh, a UCLA graduate who went on to get his PhD in history at the University of London, returned to UCLA to teach medieval European history, especially England, was chair of our department briefly before becoming dean of the Division of Social Sciences, one of the biggest divisions in the university, now with 18 departments in that division. And eventually he became executive vice chancellor of the entire university, right-hand person to the chancellor. He played a role in UCLA's phenomenal success over a period of about 3 decades. I had a class when I was an undergraduate with Scott, History 1B, and then a few years later, I was a teaching assistant for the same class as a graduate student. History 1B is a very challenging course. It starts from late antiquity and goes almost all the way to the French Revolution, covering about 1,000 years. And I learned how to teach from outstanding teachers like Scott. And he is the special speaker of our ceremony today, and I am happy to introduce him now.
Thank you, Kevin. That's very kind of you to say. I want to echo something Kevin said and start off by wishing everybody, not everybody, but all the fathers here a happy Father's Day. But really to say happy parents, whoever you are, wherever you are, what you're doing. Raising children is not child's play these days. And we're all here because somebody, a lot of people, helped us get here. And we should be very thankful to all those people and thankful that they've given us the wherewithal to do what we do and to continue to do what we do and then turn around and help raise another generation. So thank you very much. Happy Father's Day. Happy Parents' Day. I was in New York last week trying to think about what to say as a commencement speech, and a series of calamities struck. The Canadian fires came, the sun was blotted out from the sky. Skyscrapers were veiled in smoke. People were wandering in the streets. Fortunately, for some reason, they all had masks, and voluntarily, everybody was wearing a mask on the street. But it was kind of a ghostly atmosphere. And on top of that, Trump was indicted, and his friends were threatening revolution and chaos. And it just seemed like a perfect coda to your years here at UCLA. Years marked by, obviously, by the pandemic, by, as Kevin said, online education, civil strife, the ongoing effort to realize the ideals of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, to realize freedom and justice and liberty for everybody, and to guarantee individual rights, and that strife goes on. There's been wars, inflation, the revenge of Mother Nature over and over again. And then now we have AI. Is this a servant or a terminator? So under those circumstances, I was puzzling, commencement speakers are supposed to give advice, be sage and wise, and what kind of advice can you give in those circumstances? I mean, what should you say? Run, hide, escape, climb under the bed, weep? I thought about turning to ChatGPT and getting a commencement speech, but that seemed too much like writing a term paper. So I came back to LA and thought more about it and thought better of it. And I realized, calamities are with us all of the time. That's sort of the human condition. It's the human past, as you've studied. And the world is always full of uncertainty and calamities. I transferred to UCLA in 1968, which was a pretty horrible year. Transfers are the way to go. In 1968 was a pretty horrible year. The assassinations of Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, the riots in Chicago at the time of the Democratic Convention. It was pretty grim. And I graduated, finally, in 1970, which was still a pretty awful year. The Vietnam War was still raging. Everybody was worried, or all the men were worried about the draft. It was not clear what was going to happen. There were lots of demonstrations. The demonstrations resulted in Kent State, which resulted in more demonstrations. There was a huge demonstration here at UCLA. Police got out of control at some point and beat up a lot of kids. We spent the day going back and forth between here and downtown as kids were released from the jail. And on top of that, to make matters even worse, marijuana was illegal. So just over half a century ago, I was sitting where you are. Well, not exactly where you are, because at that time, commencement was held, or graduation was held in Drake Stadium. And that was a really awesome experience. Everybody was there. It was all at once. And it was burning hot. Those were the days when, you may remember, California was sunny. And that was what the graduation was. It wasn't this individualized event. After that, I went to graduate school, and I traveled to London to do my degree at the University of London. And that was an experience in itself. I had transferred, and I had a friend who stayed back east where I had transferred from, and he decided we would meet together in London. I was going to graduate school, he was going on vacation, we were going to meet another friend who was at Oxford getting a master's. And so we decided we'd fly to London, and he consulted with some friend, some bizarro person, who said the place to meet was at Trafalgar Square. He's coming from New York, I'm coming from Los Angeles. He's on a scheduled airline, I'm on a charter flight. Charter flight. Does that mean anything? It used to be the cheap way of getting from here to Europe in those days, and they were very unpredictable. Anyway, my unpredictable flight landed on time, and I've somehow managed to get from Gatwick Airport to Trafalgar Square, where I sat in front of some statue, full with all this luggage, which I was that I needed to move into London for a year. And it got hotter and hotter. The day went on. I had no idea where John was. I had no idea what happened. I didn't know where I was supposed to go. I didn't know I was supposed to wait. I finally dimly recalled that maybe trains run from Paddington Station to Oxford, and so I somehow got to Paddington Station, somehow got to Oxford, went into a phone box, a red phone box, you may know that from Doctor Who, and put money into a phone, and called my friends, and they came and picked me up at the train station. My friend John finally arrived on the scheduled airline about 12 hours late. We drove back into London, picked him up, and went to see the Beatles movie Let It Be, which was a nice ending to not only the day, but a nice ending to the 1960s in a way. That story, on the one hand, should give you reassurance because technology really does make a difference. The cell phone is really important. You can find your way if you go somewhere and you know where you're going. In those days, it was impossible and difficult to figure it out, so technology can be your friend when it wants to be. But in many other ways, things haven't changed. What awaits you out there is at once much the same and very different. The world's full of calamities, it's familiar and alien. There's a lot of uncertainty. I'm sure you have a lot of uncertainty about what you're going to do and where you go, and what's awaiting you and how you're going to manage it. But you can take comfort from one thing that's very important. You're all history majors. And the history majors of the study of history, gives you the habits, skills, knowledge, and mental flexibility to deal with uncertainty and challenges. You may not realize that now, but as you go forward and you start doing things, you'll realize that you'll gain some confidence from the fact that you have those skills and you have that kind of flexibility. I make 4 points for you. First, the content of history, what you've learned, shows how people have overcome calamity, uncertainty, time and time again. In every era, in every place, people have had to confront change, they've had to confront calamities, they've had to confront the problems, they've been at the mercy of nature and they've been at the mercy of one another over and over again. And in every era, in every place you study, humans have braved that uncertainty, have met those challenges, and they've accomplished incredible things. They've also done horrible things. And that's part of what you have to understand about the world. It can be very, very horrible. But equipped with the knowledge that people can accomplish good things should give you confidence that you can accomplish good things and that that's part of history. Studying and reading history, the content of history, helps you understand and appreciates the accomplishments of the past and should give you confidence that you can be part of that. Secondly, the practice of history, actually writing history and doing history, is itself the mastery of uncertainty. History itself is unpredictable. It's just a mass of stuff. It's all the things that are left over after the party moves on, after the concert is over, after the game is over. It's all the detritus that's left around, the documents, the trash, the stuff. That's what the facts of history are. It's all facts, and it's just stuff until somebody sits down and tries to make sense of it. And that's the job of the historian. That's what we all do, and we all do very well. All those people do it well. And that's what you've been doing. It's making sense of the past. That's interpreting all of that material, all of those facts, all of those things that are left behind. And that's the content. That produces the content and it produces the interpretation. Facts don't speak for themselves. Historians have to shape it and speak for it and understand and create the past. Facts have to be ordered and understood. Making sense of that jumble is what the practice of history is. And that, of course, making sense, is an interpretation. It's an argument. History is constantly changing. That's the third point. It's grounded in facts, but the interpretation of those facts, the arguments built on those facts and about those facts, those things always change. You've seen them change in your lifetime. History's not written in stone. Well, there's some history written in stone in the ancient Americas, in Greek and Rome and China and India. There's some stones that are written, but the point is that the history today, what you read, is not written in stone. It'll change. When you come back in 10 years, it'll be different. Skepticism and curiosity are your important allies, and they drive people to re-examine the facts, to find new facts, to find new ways of looking at facts, find new tools and skills to interpret change, and to interpret what history is and how history changes. Skepticism is part of the historian's work. It should be part of your life's work. Testing, weighing, evaluating interpretations and arguments, what people tell you, what people think, and how you assess that. That's the most important thing you need to do. Some interpretations or arguments are more plausible than others because they're truer to the facts. Some are truer because they align with the facts or take account of more of the facts than they do. You can say not like them, but you can at least evaluate them and say, this is a worthwhile presentation. This makes sense. Curiosity and skepticism go hand in hand, and they're powerful forces driving humans to confront not just history, but uncertainty and challenges and refashion their understanding of the world. In my lifetime, from the time I was here to now, history has changed vastly. It's richer, fuller, livelier, more colorful than when I studied, when I was in your position. History was basically at one time, only politics. And now it is about how people have lived and related to one another. It's about the poor and about the lower classes. It's about families. It's about women. It's about African Americans. It's about the challenges of immigration of all peoples. It's about the diaspora of peoples all over the world that have changed the human genome, changed the world. It's about the men and women and families confronting nature and what we have done to nature in response. It's about work and play, food and religion, war and disease, and yes, even about politics sometimes. And all of those things are part of what you've learned and part of what makes history exciting. And it will change again, and I hope that you help contribute to that change in whatever way you can. Finally, the skills of a historian, the fourth point. Your skills as historians are adaptable to any profession and anything. They should give you confidence in facing the uncertainties of life and give you confidence to do whatever the hell you want to do. As students of history, you can appreciate that knowledge and understanding are constantly undergoing revision. And as we learn more facts, burrow deeper into subjects and sources, as we develop new arguments, hypotheses, interpretations of everything, you can be the authors of that revision. You can be the authors of your own life based on the facts of your life, the facts of your profession. Weighing the balance between fact and interpretation is a habit or a practice that will serve you well in whatever field you do. The confidence it should give you that you can manage or master any profession or any career you choose. It's been my pleasure, in fact, through my career here at UCLA, to get to know history alumni for many years and many generations. They've been lawyers, they've been doctors, scientists, investment bankers, actors, writers, teachers, accountants, even one or two professors. And it means that history is not a limiting force, it's an expanding force. It's a skill that gives you the opportunity to do more with yourself and more with the world than you thought possible. So equipped with that historical knowledge, with skepticism for what is accepted, with the skill to assess the validity of arguments, with a deep respect for fact, equipped with all of that, you should feel confident that you can achieve whatever you set out to do. No matter how uncertain or unpredictable the world, no matter how many challenges the world faces, you can meet it head on. It's been happening over and over again, and you have the skills to do it now. If I can't offer you advice, I can at least leave you with a quotation, which also seems to be a de rigueur part of commencement speeches. This is a quote that I found more meaningful as I've entered 3/4 of a century of life. There is a road, no simple highway, between the dawn and the dark of night. And if you wish to go, no one may follow. That path is for your steps alone. So take the first step today. Enjoy the journey. Good luck to all of you, and congratulations. You deserve it all. Thank you.